We now move on to our next session, Listen to the Flames. This discussion on Dalit literature has well-known author Bama, whose Karuku was published 25 years ago, Dr. Sambaiah Gundimeda, who has been with the School of Policy and Governance at Azim Premji University and is the author of Mapping Dalit Politics in Contemporary India, a study of UP and AP from an Ambedkarite perspective, and Marathi author, poet, and literary critic, Dr. Sharankumar Limbale, in conversation with Mini Krishnan, Translations Editor, Oxford University Press. May I invite them onto the stage, please?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for that delay. I was hoping to show you the covers of the translations of Dalit writing, which I'd collected from different publishers, just to set the tone and to let those of you who don't know much about Dalit writing or may not have read recent works, or just to let you know that there is a sizable number now available. This is one of the literary genres for which we haven't looked to the West for any models. It's homegrown. It's very close to the earth. It has actually a very long history, but Dalit writing and Dalit writers were not recognized, accepted, or even noticed as writers with a literary product or producers of literature for a very long time because of very set notions of upper caste literary norms and aesthetics, which felt that they had nothing to contribute. It was largely orature, and even the educated Dalits had nothing to match what the popular taste and what the popular norms had arranged for themselves or frameworked as literature. The aesthetics were not recognized. And as I'm sure you all know, the regional language publishing brigade is led by upper castes. Has been for a very, very long time. And they too deliberately kept this writing out of the public eye, partly out of ignorance and insensitivity, and partly caste prejudice, because this is something we really have to accept. I'm aware that there are many people here who know a great deal about the whole Dalit, the ethos, the industry, the discourse. There may be those who know just a little, there may be those who don't know much at all. So I'll just remind this group, the audience, that every sixth Indian is a Dalit. Now, since publishing is a collaborative industry, and publishing Dalit writing falls into a category of publishing with there's a sort of a mission for change. It has displaced, it has sort of uprooted, it has turned on its head a great deal of mainstream writing. About the time of the Ambedkar centenary, there was a resurgence. World over, there was also the rise of the subaltern and a recognition that they had a great deal to offer, which had been masked. So writing by Dalits from different languages came to the fore in the 90s. Translations, this is Dalit writing as a national movement, as a national genre, is definitely a creation of translation into English. My three panelists, Bama Faustina, Dr. Sambaiah Gundimedu, and Dr. Sharankumar Limbale, I don't think have ever really met. I think perhaps Bama and Sharan have met occasionally, but Sambaiah is someone we hadn't met, but we'd only read about and talked to. One of the disappointments and one of the anxieties of the Dalit network is that there is still no publishing house which is run by Dalits and sources Dalit literature. The other great source of anxiety is that there are very few Dalits in newsrooms, whether it is English or the regional languages. A particular point I wish to make is that this is probably the first discussion on Dalit writing this year, and it marks 60 years because the first conference on Dalit writing was held in Maharashtra in 1958. So that's about the time it started, and we have this opportunity. I thank the Hindu group and the Literature Festival. There is a particular connection here which I think Dr. Nirmal Lakshman pointed out this morning. It's the 25th year of the first autobiography by a Dalit woman writer. You have the writer here, Bama Faustina. There's a connection. Thank you. It kind of opened the floodgates. There's a connection with the Hindu because I was able to find this book. It was brought to my notice because Ashoka Mitran, you see there are a lot of connections. Ashoka Mitran wrote a review in what was called the Tuesday pages of that time. The Hindu used to run reviews of regional language books on a page called the Tuesday page. A literary review, of course, was going on at the same time. And when I rang Ashoka Mitran, he said, I know you just started a project of translations. I don't know much about this kind of writing, but there's something very new about this work. You must look at it. So, Bama, you really owe the translation of Karika through Macmillan. This was the first edition, many years ago, 1999, 2000, to the Hindu and to Ashoka Mitran. By the way, it took me about 7 or 8 years to get it translated because none of the people I approached would take it up for translation. All of them said, is this literature? Is this, give me something else to do. Finally, it was Lakshmi Holmstrom who wrote from England and said, I would like to translate the book. So there's that. Then, many years later, in 2009, about 10 years later, we did a second edition through Oxford, to which Bama added about 20 pages, in which she described the things she did not really dare describe in the first edition, which is how she left the convent. But to move on, I'd like to start our conversation with a query to Sharankumar Limbale. Sharan, in 1992, Priya Adarkar, I'd also like to honor, how sad we don't have those covers, I'd like to honor the first publishers of Dalit writing and translation, which is Orient. They were Orient Longman at that time, Orient Black Swan, and Priya Adarkar, who was not only regional director, but translator, imagine that. And she translated a poem of Sharan's, one line of which he described the rise of Dalit, feeling of Dalit creativity, and he said, will you deny this sunrise? Can you deny the sunrise? Sharan, since that time, 1992, but I also want to say that he wrote his autobiography in 1984, sorry, and I brought out a translation through Oxford only in 2003. It took that long. So if there's anybody here who's waiting to be translated, please know that things do take a long time in our situation. Since that time, we've had a small and vigorous publishing house in Delhi called Navayana, who they publish exclusively on, not exclusive, they have some other things as well, but they started with an exclusive focus on Dalit issues, Dalit writing, really social sciences, very few literary translations, just 3 or 4 of late. So since then, and since Dalit writing has slowly moved from the margins, Sharan, how do you think Dalit writing is doing? Is it still, how is this sunrise doing? Is it now high up in the sky? I'd just like you to share your views.
Thank you. I am very poor in English. I will try to communicate my ideas to you. Before Dalit writers, there are progressive writers. They write about Dalits. You are Anand Murthy, Shivaram Karant, Takkale Shivashankar Pille, Chinnappa Bharti, Mahashweta Devi, Premchand, Sharachandra Chattopadhyay. There are many writers, Girish Karnadji. They write about Dalits. I have a great respect about non-Dalit writers' writing. They write about Dalits and they knock the door of caste system. Then we get chance to break the door of caste system. And we broke the door and entered in. Even though non-Dalit writers are writing about Dalits, they have limitations of their caste. They have prejudices and they written about Dalits. In their writing there is full of pity. I hate pity. I don't want pity from anyone. I want my rights. I want share in power. I want share in power. But I appreciate non-Dalit writers' writing. See, I started writing in my college days before 40 years. At that time, no one is ready to publish me. Everyone says, no, your writing is dirty with full of slangs and you are living in ghettos. This will not entertain our readers. And everyone say no to publish me. Now the scene is changed. In every Indian language, many Dalit writers are writing. And Dalit writing is emerged on national scene. This is a change. And Dalit literature is included in syllabus. Many students are doing research. And we Dalit writers are flying this festival to that festival. In my student days, I did not get 25 paisa to take admission in college. Now I am flying this festival to that festival and people are asking me to come. I am celebrating my pains and pangs. I write about my pains, pangs and my expenses. Today, we are become celebrity. This is not our aim to become celebrity, authors of book, bestseller book, and award winning. We are not writing for any award. We are writing for social cause. You are saying that I am a Dalit. Yes, I am a Dalit. I am writing. You are saying that I am writing for Dalit. You are saying you are a Dalit and you are writing for Dalit. It is crime against me. I am writing for Dalit. It is my historical responsibility to write about Dalits. But it is incomplete. I am an Indian. I respect my Indianness. And it is my duty to write about my nation also. I am cleaning. Modi is cleaning main roads of towns, and we are cleaning the brains and minds of caste system. And we are cleaning the stigmas on the face of our country. And I want to see a beautiful nation. We are building a beautiful nation. Okay.
Thank you. We'll come back to you. Thank you. Sharan is the regional director of the Yashwantrao Chavan Maharashtra Open University in the Pune region. Is that correct?
Now I'm retired professor.
Retired professor. Okay, he was. So thank you, Sharan. I'm reminded of a memoir which was turned into fiction by a writer named Vadatala in Malayalam, which he was a teacher, Dalit. He was hired by fairly good village school. And the first day when he entered the classroom, across his table, the teacher's table, was placed a spade with all the children sniggering, as if to say, teaching is not your profession. go and dig the earth. That's what you're fit for. The kind of hostility Dalit children face in schools, I'm not sure about colleges. I've heard that they, in turn, also are a force to reckon with and sometimes even threaten teachers. Bama, a couple of questions coming your way. I want to ask you, do you agree with Sharan? How much change has there been since you published Karakan, since you became famous? The places you've traveled to? I'd like you to share your experiences and thoughts before we go to the next step.
Vanakkam. Actually, from the time before sharing my ideas, I want to just to thank Mini for having introduced this session, and also the Hindu newspaper, because it was the first time the review for my first book, Karku, was published in Hindu, and from that only she picked it up. And after 25 years of Karku's journey, now last week you might have seen in the literary review of Hindu paper, there was another review of Karku, and about the celebration that I had in my own village of the Silver Jubilee of Karku by Mangai. So a special thanks to Hindu people also. So now coming to the session, all these 25 years when I look back, the same experience I had as Limbale spoke to you. Nobody wanted to publish Karku, and we were looking for different publishers. Nobody picked it up. Not only picked it up, but everybody was saying that what kind of script it is, what kind of text is it, and the language, and the content of it, and the genre of it. So a lot of talks went on, but finally, Jesuit Institute, a social institute called Ideas, they deliberately they started a publication, and they published it in their place, institution, and then it went on. But even then, 10 years, it was published in 92, but there was a lot of criticisms, and positive and negative. And even my own village people didn't understand it properly, because they couldn't read it. It was misinterpreted, and they were very angry, and they didn't allow me to come to my village. So it went on and on like that. But once it was translated, and when Mini picked it up, and when it was translated into English, and I was fortunate enough to have Lakshmi Gomstram as my translator. She did a very good job. And then it won the crossword award, and then it came to the limelight. And many people began to read it, and I know so many are doing research on it, and they keep it a text, all those things. So these 25 years, not only Karku impressed or had impact many people, but I too grew with that. I grew like with the Karku. In fact, in the first book, at the end of it, I ended like this: I am like a bird with broken wings. But now, even not only now, even a few years back, in one of the interviews, I said, I am no more a bird with broken wings. I am a falcon flying in the sky. So that kind of imagery, I got it, and I mean it. Because lot of ups and downs, lot of criticisms, lot of violence, atrocities and talks. But still, these assertions and celebrations of a Dalit woman, it took me to fly in the sky. So, for me, the change is for Dalit liberation, the consciousness, the subdued consciousness has changed into a liberated consciousness. That liberation enables us to fly high. That's what brings change in the society, I feel. Okay.
Thank you, Bama. One of the problems in publishing translations of Dalit writing is it's a very, very fraught area. There are many people who resent the Dalits themselves, feel they're being patronized. That's one. But there are those who do wish to be translated and published in English. It's a sort of love-hate situation. There are Dalit writers who do not want to be called, labeled Dalit. Then the kind of writing, the kind of language, since it comes from orature, comes from, there's a lot of, it's really a sort of a dialect, and English fails hopelessly sometimes to capture that. My question for Sambaiah is, what do you feel about the kind of anthology that Oxford did 2 years ago, 80 writers writing Dalit writers in Telugu in English? The curious thing is that, I did 3 anthologies, one in Malayalam, there's 56 writers, one was in Tamil, 78 writers, and in Telugu. There are no such collections in the original languages themselves. This is the first sort of compilation. So I'd like you to comment on that. And also, Oxford was the first to invite Dalit editors. Otherwise, it's always non-Dalits selecting Dalit material. There's that too. I'd like you to comment on these things. And also, what do you think about the idea of the selfhood of the community as a teacher as in Premji University? What has changed and what hasn't changed? And when you teach, what is your experience? 2 years ago, Oxford brought out a collection of, it was actually designed as a textbook, all the genres, 21 languages, writing by Dalits. And the title of this session, Listen to the Flames, of the title of that book. It's done well through individual buyers, but not a single college or university has prescribed it. They're constantly asking for material to teach. But when we brought out a textbook, edited by academics, advised by many reviewers and academics, nobody prescribed the text. And there was, I've heard from several quarters, there's a certain nervousness about even teaching such a text in a classroom. As an academic, and as someone much younger than I am, what would you like to bring to this discussion, to this session?
Thank you, Minnie. I'm just teacher, so I thought maybe I should kind of be here and then stand and then say a few words. But first of all, I wanted to kind of thank Minnie and then Nirmal Lakshman for having our session. In fact, as Modi is kind of closing the spaces for Dalits, at least Hindu opened some space here, and so we want to thank on that note. To say something about Telugu Dalit literature, about the 80 authors, and I wanted to kind of before that I wanted to say, Sharanji, maybe it's a generational difference. I don't know, or it could be something. But eventually, Dalits also want to be part of mainstream. They do not want to kind of remain as Dalits forever. And so we also want awards, recognition. It's not that, yes, we write for our community. We bring out our communities and difficulties and then discriminations against and then problems. But that's, we are telling whom? Not just for us, we are telling others as well. By that, we are telling them to kind of look, there are problems here, you better change your behavior, your attitudes. So that way, when people kind of recognize, earlier, in the earlier session, like, one Padasadi sirs, he, while receiving this Tamil, award, he said, when you were giving the award, it's not just only recognizing my work, it's also recognizing the Tamil literature itself, language. I think, when, if there are awards, I think, they are kind of recognizing us as well, us in the sense like, Dalit as a community. So by recognizing, I think, we are opening some, there's some space for, dialogue, and then then it facilitates for the, joining the mainstream society as an equal partners. Apart from that, this 80 authors that you are referring to, many. It's like I would say that it's a tip of iceberg, because we have several hundreds, and I would say currently more than 150 Dalit writers who are working, writing in Telugu, and both, especially poetry these days, and Facebook is kind of one avenue where kind of we would see that people kind of writing every day one poem, at least, but for the benefit of those audience, maybe not you, but then maybe outside, who might kind of eventually watch in YouTube, out of their ignorance or out of their innocence, people might kind of assume that Telugu Dalit literature, started with Ambedkar, or maybe kind of with recently 1980s onwards, but I would kind of say a few words on that. Actually Dalit literature goes back to some 100 years of history. In fact, we have to kind of take oral traditions also into our consideration. Then it goes kind of many hundred years. Particularly when in the post-Vedic period, with the creation of Ashtadasha Puranas by the Brahmins, then you would see Dalits in Telugu country were also kind of working out their own oral Puranas, caste myths. One of those two of those were Jamba Purana and then Channa Purana. Of course, many of our professions and then our work and then our contribution, as the mainstream society did not recognize, these Puranas are also not part of the mainstream society. So otherwise, written word, for the Dalits, goes to 1909, where a song published in Andhra Bharati, it's kind of it's about the song of the Malas, Malavandra song. This is the first ever written word, actually. And then, from 1920s and then 30s, both, social reformers, from the Brahmin community in Telugu Desam, they encouraged, Dalits to write. So that's why, from 1910 and then 20s, you would see a milder form of tone and then gentle tone against caste discrimination. But from 1930s to 80 onwards, you see Dalits were influenced by three ideologies in Telugu country. Ambedkar and Ambedkarism, Gandhi, Congress, and then you have Marxism. So the several people kind of have been kind of writing prose poetry and then novels and short stories. From 1980s, I watermark decade, because that's where throughout country you have seen the rise of atrocities against Dalits, and so now 80s completely Dalits have completely given up the Marxism and then taken to Ambedkarism, and then you would see Dalit literature kind of really sprouting, the tone and then the articulation kind of very, very powerful during the 80s. And then in later 90s, mid 90s, you would see there's some divisions within the Dalit category, especially when Madigas demanding for categorization of SC reservations, then Malas, another a major subcaste, opposing it. So there's a caste-based articulations. I mean, on the positive note, actually, caste-based articulations kind of trying to kind of bring out their histories and cultural traditions. But at the same time, it's kind of taken back the Ambedkar's project of an annihilation of caste and then political power for the marginalized. And then you have this powerful Dalit women writers, actually, who Challapalli Swaruparani, here, one of the famous writers among the, and then you have Gogul Shamla and then Jubak Subhadra and then other people who've been writing. And then, Dalit women's perspective is completely different from Dalit men, Challapalli Swaruparani would argue that, caste based and then gender based and then also class based victimization of Dalit women. So you see like the rich throughout 90s, early 90s onwards, like until now, there's a rich continuation of Dalit literature. Now about this classroom situations you were asking about, Mini, is that correct?
Yes. Sam, we also need a question time.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Thank you. The thing is, we started a bit late, so it just, yes. Bama, yes.
Yeah, as I was listening to him, a story came to my mind, Leo Tolstoy's small parable. A lean man carrying a fat man on his shoulder all the time, all 24 hours. And the fat man sitting on the lean man's shoulder tells him, I feel very sorry for you. You have to carry me all along. I know how troublesome for you. It is very painful, all such things, and you need to be liberated. Yes, I understand all those things. But I won't get away from your shoulder. That was the thing he told this lean man. Now, to annihilate caste, to liberate for this lean man, this story applies to us, to Dalits, and to non-Dalits, or the oppressor and the oppressed. This lean man needs to be liberated. But the fat man feels pity for him, sorry for him, and tells all kinds, empathize with everything he does. But he won't leave him alone. So what he has to do, the lean man has to throw away that inhuman burden from his shoulder. Then only he will be liberated. So now, the exactly Indian situation is like that. The caste-minded society, two binary oppositions even operate even today. The we and they. We are good, they are bad. We are pure, they are impure. We are intelligent, they are dull-headed people. We are non-violent people, they are terrorists. So this operation still functions in a very subtle way sometimes, and in openly also, because you see the current events in our country. What happens in Yamuna, what happens in Pune, what happened in Haryana, in UP. So now things have not changed much. So the story what Tolstoy says is still applicable. So that's what I'm trying to focus in my writing also. Now people began to speak. Dalit began to ask. They articulate, they write, they celebrate, they assert, they try to change themselves from this subordinate consciousness into a liberated consciousness. The process is going and literature does its work, but still it is the painful impact of caste system is still there. So we cannot say that we have grown, yes, to a certain extent. But like this, what I said in the story, still we are carrying the burden of caste, untouchability, class and economical and cultural alienation and marginalization and suppression. That I want to register here.
Thank you. Just one last point. Bama faced this casteism in the church itself. She was a nun for 7 years and left because of that. Because she says it's well and alive in the church as well. We have 10 minutes if we can take some questions. Please phrase your questions simply so that one of us here can answer. I know it's very tempting to make statements about yourself and about your experiences and your opinion, but that's not what we would like to entertain. If there are questions, the panel will be happy to take it.
Hi, thanks for this informative session.
Could you
One
speak? Could you
question.
speak into the mic, please?
Yes. Should I? Yeah. So one question I have for Bama or Sir is, so you have worked in this particular, even more. Okay, you have been working on this for such a long time. What is your vision regarding this particular area? Where do you wish it progresses to? And where do you think you would say is a much positive growth from where we are at this moment?
She's asking about progress. Has there been progress? And this is, do you mean in publishing or do you mean in the society? Because that's a very
In the
big question.
society, in the society,
Well,
I mean.
that's just what they've been talking about.
Yeah, so
Haven't
we
they
have progressed and we've reached this point wherever we are in society, it's variant. But where does she, as a writer, when she wrote all these things, she would have had an ideal situation in mind. So what is that?
No, the society, the change has to come from the bottom. If you want to change the society, the change should be from the bottom, not from the top. That's what's happening. Because to annihilate caste is an essential need for Dalits only, not for non-Dalits. Because they bear the burden of it, they suffer, so they need to annihilate caste. But for others, it is not an issue at all. Because when a Dalit suffers, when Dalit undergoes all kinds of atrocities and violence, it doesn't bother them. Because it is quite natural and they think they are born to suffer. The dehumanization is a natural flow from the oppressing people. It is not a natural flow from Dalits, because we Dalits believe in equality and we say we are more human because we don't practice caste. So the change comes, we have to, that's what from the bottom, from the Dalit the lean man has to throw away that inhuman burden. So change has to come from the bottom. And it is happening slowly.
I'd like to say that the casteist attitude affects non-Dalits also. Because when you're an oppressor, you're actually ruining and impurifying and contaminating your own mind. This kind of violence cannot leave you untouched, whether it's emotional, verbal, or physical. So you see, this casteism affects everyone. It's not just the Dalits. Next question, please.
So we don't talk about Dalit literature and everything, but still we have distinction like Dalit men and also Dalit women, wherein gender equality exists till now, and of course it is internalized. So what do you think about this? How do you overcome this? Of course, it exists in Dalit community also. So could you please comment on this? Or
If I might quickly respond on behalf of all the gender equality.
Yeah, among Dalits, there is more flexibility in this gender equality, I would say. If you go to, Dalits, most of the Dalits live in rural areas and they have very, very free relationships with husband and wife, with children, with neighborhood, with nature. And they work very hard, and both men and they work hard with such joy. They sing while they are working, and there is more freedom among Dalit men and Dalit women, comparing to the non-Dalit people. That I can say, because the Dalit culture is such. It gives you more freedom to move around, and Dalit women are independent. They work, they run the family, they earn money to run the family. Whether the men are supporting or not, they are capable of running the family and they stand on their own leg. So Dalit feminism is such that they enjoy a lot of freedom. Amidst heavy work, amidst poverty, amidst all kinds of problems from upper caste and from her own husband, she has that freedom that you can see in practical life.
Is the vibrancy of Dalit literature a good reflection, let's say in different parts of India, good reflection of the improvement of Dalit status in the society, or is it inversely related to that?
You're saying, is the rise of Dalit literature a sign of their liberation or not? Is that your question? No, it's not. No, there are people who think, well, Gogo Shamala has said that the upper castes are like the eagles who swoop down on us and commercialize our art. On the whole, if this writing had not been made available, had not been printed, not been translated, not been circulated, not been discussed, it would be a great loss to everyone. It also links up worldwide with marginalized communities and their activities, the subaltern. So it's a great expression of Indian life. So how can its growth not be a good thing?
Yeah, it is universal because the uniqueness of Dalit literature is it is universal. The assertion and celebration, and now we take black literature, there is so much commonality between Dalit literature and black literature, and we believe in this commonality of humanity. So it is universal.
Oh, I want to add, Dalits are not in only Tamil Nadu. Dalits are in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Gujarat, Punjab, in every state. Dalits are not in one language. They are writing in Tamil, Malayalam, Punjabi, Hindi, Gujarati, Telugu. Dalits are not in one country. See, Dalits are in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, UK and USA. Dalits are not in one religion. Dalits are in Hindu, Dalits are in Christian, Dalits are in Muslim, Dalits are in Sikh. And all these Dalits are writing now, and Dalit literature is emerging at national platform, and it attracts the international audience. Now Dalit literature is teaching within the country and out of the country. I went Australia, I went Canada, I went UK. Everywhere is teaching Dalit literature. This is the way Dalit authors introduce our country, how India is changing. Before 40 years, no one is publishing. And after 40 years, I am here. This is the change. And I want to tell you, my two son-in-laws are upper caste. And we are arranged marriage. This is the change. But at the same time, there are atrocities. If all Hindus started killing, attacking Dalits are in minority. We will not live. We can't survive. Major of Hindu community are progressive, and they are support Dalit, the Adivasi, tribal people, and that's why we are surviving, we are writing, because India accepted, welcomed our literature as an Indian literature, as an Indian tongue. And you people are here and are welcoming us. I'm very happy. This is the change.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You know, after so many years, isn't it intriguing and somewhat shameful, if I may use the word, that this fat man who talks about spirituality, music, he appreciates science and all that, doesn't he realize that this kind of thing he must get off? It's one thing for the lean man to throw off the fat man, but the fat man also has to have something, if at all there's some humanity left in him, to get off slowly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we have to thank you very much. That's why it's important to also study this writing and introduce it in colleges and in schools. And it is being done in a very gentle way. There's yet no supplementary reader about the life of Ambedkar which has ever been prescribed in a school, by the way. I'm afraid we have to wrap up. There are lots of... one last question.
Yes, so since the topic of discussion is Dalit literature and most of your work has been in original Dalit dialects, I'd like to know how much do you feel the essence of the novel is lost in translation? And in comparison to a normal novel being translated, how much of it do you think is lost, especially when it comes to Dalit literature being translated into mainstream languages?
Is the question to me?
To any of you who would like to.
Yes.
They're all writers who've been translated, so they can
I
answer.
respond or you? Can I
How do you feel about
respond?
your translation?
See, translators are upper caste. Publishers are upper caste. Copy editors are upper caste. and they are publishing Dalit text. They don't know the slang language, the detail of caste society. I want to tell one example. I used a name, Buffalo, for my protagonist. Buffalo is a man, name of human in my short story. And it is translated in Hindi. And the translator translate the name of the human as a buffalo. And then from Hindi, one translator started in Punjabi. And she started me phoning that your protagonist is buffalo and it is wandering in park, it is going to hotel, it is talking on mobile. I am shocked how it is. Then I told her, I will check the text. The translated the name of human also. How it is possible? There are many mistakes. And the translator again edits. In my literature, there are many abuses against God. Without abusing, I can't write. But the editor delete the abuse, which he did not like, he delete. And when I came to know, this is the translations are up to some extent not to the correct text. There are some fabrication, but the translators are good, publishers are good, and editors are good. Because of them, we came here. Something is going wrong.
The condition of women in villages is so bad and it's so oppressed. And how did you come out of that and became the writer you are today? Because it's not so conducive for people born in villages, in our rural Tamil Nadu, Dalit villages, and emerging like an author you are emerged today. Can you just tell us a little bit about that so that many people can get inspired?
Madam, read her books. We have absolutely run out of time. We have a small function. We talked about Karka, which is Bama's first book. I would request Vaishna Roy and Srilata, Professor K. Srilata, to come to the dais. Sonia Madan, the Assistant Managing Editor of Oxford. Sonia Madan will hand over Bama's latest book. It's called Just One Word. We'll hand it over to Vaishna Roy, who is the editor of the Literary Review and of the Sunday magazine of the Hindu. Please come up. Ladies and gentlemen, I have great pleasure in introducing Sonia Madan of Oxford University Press. She will hand over the book to Vaishna Roy. In case there are people here, Vaishna Roy, the editor of the Literary Review of the Hindu. Vaishna, could you release the book? There is a particular significance in Srilata accepting this book because Srilata was the one who wrote the very first review of the English translation in 2001 before the book won the Crossword Prize. Thank you very much, Srilata. Thank you, Vaishna. Thank you all. The panelists would be happy to take questions in the author's lounge or over later. Thank you very much. Sorry for the delay.